Okay, so we should now have Miniconda 3 installed, and all you had to do was just download this file and double click on it and follow the instructions. And now we're going to go back to our GitHub page here. And if we're in our terminal, we can, it doesn't matter which folder we're in, but we can be in our lessons folder. So you should be able to type which conda, and it should say, it should be your home folder, and then miniconda3 /bin/conda. Okay? Yes, we should be able to do conda -- version. Yeah. But that's not the minicon. That's referring to conda itself. I don't. That doesn't tell us which version of Python it's using. But the so some background. Python has different versions. The main two versions are Python 2 and Python 3.
If you do Python -- version, it's the guide Python 3.6.
Yeah, exactly. So if you type Python -- version, it will tell you which version of Python you have, and it's using. You might have, if you followed along with Learn Python the Hard Way, he had you install Python, so that still is on your computer. But when you did this thing where you prepended the path with the Miniconda installation, it's now the first place it's going to look is in that folder, and so it's going to find Python there. So it's going to use that version of Python that we just installed, and not the version that you installed when you did the homework. Effectively, they're the same. They should both be Python 3, and so that won't affect your experience. But since we're using Conda for this course, it's good that we're all using the same version. So this should be, it says Python 3.5.2, and then Continuum Analytics is the company that is providing this distribution. So the main thing is that we're using Python 3. So Python 3 is the newer version of Python. Python 2 is a bit older, and up until a few years ago, a lot of people were still using Python 2 because Python 3 hadn't been fully sort of tested, and also a lot of the software wasn't upgraded to work with Python 3. But now that's not true anymore. Pretty much everybody in the scientific community is switching over to Python 3. So we're teaching Python 3 for this course. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create an environment. Now, let's just, here, I'm going to exit out of this second window. Let's just create another window so we have a clean window. So type Command T, and this will just open up a new tab with in our home directory. So we don't need to worry about the lessons right now. We're just going to work with Conda. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new environment. So we're going to type Conda create, and then so this is going to create a new environment, and this is just briefly what an environment is in this sense. When we're entering commands normally, we're using the path that is set in our computer, and all of the software that's installed in the computer is available to us. In a Conda environment, those things are still available, but then you're installing additional packages that will only be accessible from within that environment. And the advantage of this is that it gives you control over different versions of different packages, and oftentimes if you're developing software, you might have a development version of a package that you want to have access to when you're doing certain things, but you don't want to break your computer when you install some new package that might have bugs in it, for example. So this allows you to compartmentalize your work into different projects And it also it makes it easier to work with, say, different versions of Python. Or so what we're going to do is we're going to create an environment that we'll use for this class that'll have everything that we need for the class. But then when you go on and you do another project, you might want to create a new environment and install many of the same packages in there, but maybe different ones, or maybe you want newer versions, or sometimes these packages are updated, and you maybe did some work a year ago and everything was working fine, but then they made some updates and now it doesn't work. This prevents that problem because you can kind of maintain that older version while working with the newer version also. So we're going to create an environment, and we're going to call it, we're going to use this -n flag to give it a name, and we're going to call it Python 3, just so we know that it's our Python 3 environment. It's a very generic name. And then we're going to, just to be sure, we're going to say Python equals 3. So by default, since we use the Python 3 version of Miniconda, when we create an environment, it will be a Python 3 environment. Meaning when we type Python inside that environment, it will be the Python 3 version, not the Python 2 version. But just to be explicit, we're going to type Python equals 3 so that it will use Python 3 when it creates this environment. And then we have to type at least one package that we want to install. So we're going to type Jupyter it's Jupyter with a Y, because we're going to use Jupyter Notebooks for this lesson and for the rest of the course. And we're going to end up installing a lot more packages as we go, but for now we're just going to create one. We're going to create this environment, Python 3, with this one package, Jupyter. So that all looks good, so we're going to hit enter. And it's getting the metadata and data for this for these environments. So it's going online to collect this information, so could take a while. Okay, so there's a bunch, if we scroll up, that says for this environment the following new packages will be installed. So what it's doing is it's installing Jupyter, so you can see Jupyter here. But Jupyter has a lot of dependencies. It has this notebook, it has all this IPython stuff. There's a bunch of different tools, and also any environment's going to have some certain tools. So we're getting pip. All these are different packages that are going to come with this. So it asks if we want to proceed, and we type Y. And now it's going to install these. Pandoc is another package that's really useful. So this could take a little while. You can see it's pretty fast, but we're downloading a lot of packages. Are people able to get this far? Okay. While this is loading, Jupyter is a kind of all-inclusive name for IPython and also other interactive programming environments. So, and it basically, this thing I showed you here, this is a notebook, a IPython notebook, also called a Jupyter notebook. So the reason they changed the name was because there are different shells or different kernels, is the proper term, of different languages. So you can have a Jupyter notebook for R or for Ruby or Julia or lots of different languages. We're going to use it for Python. Maybe we'll use a little R. But this style of entering code and seeing output is no longer just specific for Python. We still have something called IPython because when we want to get some of the advantages of this framework, but without using the web browser format, we can use the interactive prompt, which we'll see in a minute. So this is still finishing the installation. Has anyone finished yet? Yeah, okay. Maybe my connection's a little slower.